The spiritual realm is more alive than we realize, constantly shifting in response to the choices we make. Every decision, every act of will sends ripples that echo into eternity, but none are more powerful than the battle against lust. Lust is not just a temptation, it is an anchor, pulling us into a vortex of darkness and spiritual bondage. But what if rejecting it could change everything? What if in one moment of resistance, you could alter the very fabric of the spiritual world? Every time you reject lust, you're not just winning a small internal battle, you are declaring war against an ancient unseen enemy that thrives on your weakness. You are shifting the tides of unseen forces, influencing the balance of power in the spiritual realm itself. This isn't just about purity, it's about spiritual authority, strength, and the ability to transform your life from the inside out. In a world where temptation lurks in every corner, rejecting lust is a radical act of defiance, a declaration that you are no longer a slave to your desire. And when you make this choice, the very spiritual world around you begins to respond in ways you never thought possible. Lust is not just a fleeting desire or a momentary lapse in judgment. It is a gateway to darkness that opens the door to far deeper spiritual consequence. The battle against lust is one of the most invisible, yet powerful struggles anyone can face, not only in the physical realm but within the unseen forces that govern the spiritual world. When you give in to lust, it isn't simply an indulgence. It's a surrender, a willingness to submit to forces that thrive in the shadows. These forces feed off your weakness, your vulnerability, and your brokenness, slowly eroding the foundation of your soul. In the spiritual realm, lust acts as a key that unlocks doors to destruction. It clouds the mind, distorts your perception of reality, and traps you in a cycle of self-doubt and guilt. The more you indulge, the more these dark forces gain ground, feeding off your emotional and spiritual emptiness. What starts as a simple indulgence soon grows into an insidious addiction, drawing you away from the light and deeper into the shadows of spiritual despair. Lust distorts truth, making you believe that temporary pleasure can fill the void within, but it only leads to a deeper sense of dissatisfaction and emptiness. History is littered with figures who were consumed by lust, and their fall is a stark reminder of its power. King David's downfall began with a single glance, and Samson's strength faded when he allowed his desires to control him. These weren't isolated incidents. Throughout history, lust has proven to be a common thread in the unraveling of many lives, leading them down paths of destruction. The dark forces that lust invites into your life are relentless. They don't show themselves in obvious ways. They work quietly, subtly influencing thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. Lust clouds the clarity of your spiritual vision, blinding you to the truth and manipulating you into thinking that you can control it. But the truth is, once you open the door to lust, it begins to control you. The more you feed it, the harder it becomes to break free, as it weakens your resolve, dilutes your purpose, and prevents you from seeing the beauty of a life lived in alignment with your highest self. This invisible battle is about far more than just resisting temptation. It's about reclaiming your spiritual strength and taking control of the forces that seek to control you. Lust is a gateway to darkness, but it doesn't have to define your path. Through rejection and resistance, you can shift the spiritual balance, severing the hold that lust has over your life and walking toward a realm of freedom, clarity, and divine purpose. Through rejecting lust, a declaration of war against the enemy. To rejecting lust is not a passive act, it is an open declaration of war against an enemy that has been quietly waging war on your soul. Lust, in its most insidious form, is a force that seeks to control you, to warp your desires and to pull you away from your true purpose. It operates in the shadows, feeding off your weaknesses, drawing you into cycles of indulgence and shame. But when you stand firm and reject it, you're making a powerful statement. You refuse to be controlled. Lust doesn't just affect your mind or body, it impacts your spirit. It lowers your vibration, clouds your judgment, and erodes your willpower. It's the spiritual equivalent of giving an enemy a foothold in your home, allowing them to weaken your defenses over time. Each moment you give in to lust, you're handing away your power and your clarity. But in that same moment you reject it, you're reclaiming what is rightfully yours, control over your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. The act of rejecting lust goes beyond simply saying no. It's a stand against everything that lust represents: disconnection, isolation, and weakness. It's a fight for your spiritual health and your freedom. Lust thrives in secrecy, and the moment you expose it and deny its grip, you begin to break its hold. You're not just resisting a temptation, you're reclaiming your spiritual autonomy. By rejecting lust, you're engaging in a spiritual battle that reverberates throughout the unseen world. In rejecting this desire, you are not only removing a negative force from your life, but you are also signaling to higher powers that you are ready for something greater. Your ability to resist temptation becomes an act of spiritual strength, showing that you are willing to make the necessary sacrifices to grow in power and purpose. This is the true declaration of war, to stand against the forces of lust that seek to dominate you and to stand firm in your authority. It's a battle not only for your body but for your very soul. When you reject lust, you set in motion a chain reaction in the spiritual realm that shifts the balance of power in your favor. You take back your freedom, your focus, and your divine destiny. This is where true transformation begins, with a single powerful choice to reject lust and reclaim your life. Every decision we make ripples through the spiritual realm, shaping forces that are beyond our immediate perception. The act of rejecting lust is no different. It's not just a personal victory, it alters the very fabric of the unseen world. When you make the choice to turn away from lust, you're engaging in something far greater than just overcoming temptation. You're shifting the balance in the spiritual realm, activating a powerful chain of events that will impact your life, relationships, and the spiritual forces around you. Lust, when entertained, becomes a gateway to darkness. It clouds judgment, weakens resolve, and opens doors to destructive spiritual forces. These forces thrive on your submission, gaining power over your mind, your relationships, and your purpose. But the moment you reject lust, you set off a spiritual chain reaction. This single act of resistance creates a shockwave that disrupts the grip of negative forces in your life. The ripple effect begins within you. By rejecting lust, you strengthen your spirit, solidifying your inner foundation. Each moment you resist temptation is a victory over your own desires, allowing you to grow stronger in your faith and purpose. Over time, this builds an unshakable spiritual armor, making it harder for the enemy to influence you. This is a transformation not just in your behavior, but in the very essence of who you are. Next, this change radiates outward, impacting those around you. The spiritual energy you now carry has the power to affect your relationship. When you choose purity, you become a beacon of strength, inspiring those around you to also break free from the chains of lust. Your actions influence others, encouraging them to resist temptation and seek the same freedom. In relationships, your purity fosters trust, respect, and deeper connections, shifting the dynamic and inviting healing where there was once darkness. Furthermore, this ripple extends to the broader spiritual realm. Each time you reject lust, you weaken the enemy's influence, not just in your own life but in the world around you. The spiritual battle is real, and by standing firm, you contribute to pushing back the forces of darkness, allowing light to enter not only your life but the lives of others. The world begins to change. One choice, one act of defiance at a time. Your decision to reject lust doesn't just free you, it shifts the entire spiritual atmosphere, creating waves of change that ripple across the unseen world. And with each wave you become more powerful, more connected to your divine purpose, and more capable of shaping your destiny. U4. The consequences of submission. The cost of giving in. The cost of giving in to lust is far greater than most realize. It's easy to think that submitting to temptation is a temporary indulgence, a fleeting moment of satisfaction that causes no harm. But the truth is, every time you give in, you're not just feeding a desire, you're feeding darkness that grows stronger, pulling you deeper into its grip. Lust doesn't just steal your moments of self-control, it begins to erode your spiritual foundation, slowly shifting the balance of power within your soul. First, lust compromises your clarity. When you submit to temptation, your mind becomes clouded, and your ability to see the truth is distorted. Lust doesn't just corrupt your actions, it twists your perception of what is real and what is important. The more you indulge in this cycle, the harder it becomes to discern right from wrong, truth from lies. What once felt like a rare indulgence soon becomes a constant struggle for control, until your spiritual discernment is dulled, leaving you spiritually blind. Second, giving in to lust fractures relationships. Lust turns love into a commodity, a shallow exchange that is only about self-gratification. It damages the trust between partners, reduces intimacy to a mere transaction, and breeds insecurity and jealousy. The long-term consequence of this is loneliness, even in the midst of others. When lust becomes the dominant force in your life, meaningful connections fade, and genuine love becomes harder to experience. The third and perhaps most destructive cost is the spiritual toll it takes. Every time you submit to lust, You open yourself to a flood of negative spiritual influence. Temptation is never just a personal issue. It's a battle of unseen forces. Giving in makes you vulnerable to manipulation by dark energies, which further sever your connection to divine power and purpose. As the spiritual world responds to your choices, these negative forces latch on, pulling you further away from your highest potential. Lastly, lust creates a vicious cycle. The more you give in, the more you crave, and the deeper you fall. It's an endless loop that leads to spiritual desolation. What once was a fleeting temptation becomes an addiction. An addiction feeds on itself. Lust becomes the master, not just of your desires, but of your life, leading you further away from the path of growth and fulfillment. The consequences of submission are severe. The spiritual cost is high, the relationships are damaged, and the cycle of destruction becomes nearly impossible to break without intervention. Rejecting lust is not just a victory over temptation, it is a reclaiming of your soul's power and potential. If you're ready to take control of your desires and break free from the chains of lust, I've got something that will change your life. 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust is a powerful guide packed with timeless wisdom and practical strategies to help you reclaim your spiritual strength. This isn't just another self-help book. It's a transformative journey to purify your mind, body, and soul. Don't wait. The battle starts now. Grab your copy through the link in the video description or pinned comment and begin your journey toward true freedom today. Purity is liberation, breaking free from the chains of desire. Purity is not just a moral choice. It is a powerful form of liberation. In a world dominated by lust and constant temptation, embracing purity is a radical act of freedom. When you break free from the chains of desire, you reclaim your true power, the power to control your mind, body, and spirit. Purity is not about repression, it's about alignment with your higher self, living in harmony with your true purpose. When lust dominates, it controls you. Your desires pull you in all directions, creating inner chaos. You're constantly chasing after fleeting pleasures, but the more you indulge, the emptier you feel. Lust promises satisfaction, but only delivers momentary relief. The result is a cycle of craving and emptiness. However, purity breaks that cycle. It is the key to emotional and spiritual freedom, offering a way out of the constant battle with desire. Embracing purity means taking back your sovereignty over your own body. Your body is not meant to be a vessel of fleeting pleasures. It is a temple, a sacred space that holds immense potential. Lust turns it into a prison, but purity transforms it into a place of divine strength. Each time you choose purity, you reinforce your boundaries and take control of your destiny. You stop being a slave to desires and become the master of your actions. The liberation that purity offers is not just internal, it shifts your external reality. When you stop submitting to lust, your relationships improve, your clarity sharpens, and your life begins to align with your deepest values. You start attracting people and experiences that resonate with your elevated state of being. Purity becomes a magnet for positive change, bringing spiritual growth, abundance, and peace into your life. Purity also has a profound impact on your spiritual connection. As you break free from the chains of lust, you create space for divine presence to dwell within you. Your mind becomes a clearer channel for wisdom and inspiration. You start to feel more aligned with your higher purpose, as if you are walking a path that leads to a greater destiny. Your strength, courage, and vision become amplified, and you realize that purity is not a burden but a source of empowerment. In rejecting lust, you embrace your true freedom, a freedom that comes with peace, power, and purpose. Purity is liberation, a return to the self you were always meant to be. It's not about what you give up, it's about what you gain. You gain mastery over your desires, spiritual clarity, and a life filled with true, lasting fulfillment. 6. Empowered through the Spirit. How purity opens doors to strength. Your purity is not just about avoiding temptation, it's about unlocking a hidden power that resides within every individual. When you choose purity, you are not simply resisting an urge. You are aligning yourself with the divine strength that can transform every area of your life. This isn't a passive act, it's an active choice that opens doors to spiritual empowerment, clarity, and growth. First, purity creates a clear channel for spiritual strength. When your mind and body are free from the weight of lust, you become more attuned to the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Lust clouds your spiritual connection, distracting you from your divine purpose and leading you away from the truth. But when you choose purity, you make room for the Holy Spirit to work within you, strengthening your resolve and providing the wisdom you need to navigate life's challenges. Purity clears the spiritual fog, allowing you to hear divine instructions with clarity. Second, purity empowers you to live with integrity. Living a pure life means living in alignment with your deepest values and beliefs. Lust pulls you into a world of contradictions, where what you do and what you say are often at odds. But when you reject lust, you begin to live with authenticity. This integrity builds your inner strength, helping you to stand firm in your decisions and overcome the external pressures that may try to pull you back into temptation. Purity doesn't just transform your spiritual life, it empowers you to live a life of consistency and strength. Purity also shifts your energy. When you walk in purity, you exude confidence and strength that others can sense. You are no longer bound by the desires that once controlled you. Instead, you radiate a peace and self-assurance that others find magnetic. This newfound strength isn't just mental or emotional, it's spiritual. It's the power that comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. Your very presence begins to influence those around you, encouraging them to rise above their own temptations and pursue a higher calling. Furthermore, purity unlocks divine favor. When you commit to living in purity, you align yourself with God's will and open doors to blessings and opportunities that were previously closed. Purity is a sign of spiritual maturity, and God rewards those who walk in His ways with favor and strength. As you reject lust, you step into a higher realm of divine power, where doors that once seemed impossible to open are suddenly within reach. In choosing purity, you are not just avoiding sin, you are embracing a deeper, more powerful connection with the divine. Purity opens the door to strength, clarity, and a life of unshakable integrity. Through purity, you step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. Rejecting lust is more than just an act of personal discipline. It's a profound spiritual shift that directly alters the battle in the unseen realm. Every time you resist temptation, you are making a conscious choice to reject the influence of darkness, to stand firm in your spiritual authority, and to align yourself with divine strength. This resistance doesn't just affect your inner world, it ripples outward, shifting the dynamics of spiritual warfare and the unseen forces that seek to control you. When you reject lust, you are denying the enemy access to your mind and spirit. Lust is a tool of manipulation, used by dark forces to cloud your judgment, weaken your will, and bind your spirit. The moment you resist, you take away their foothold. It's like closing a door that was once wide open, preventing negative spiritual influences from entering and taking control. This spiritual resistance not only weakens the enemy's grip, but also strengthens your own position in the battle for your soul. In the unseen realm, lust is often associated with chaos, confusion, and bondage. When you reject it, you are shifting the atmosphere around you, bringing peace and clarity into your spiritual environment. The more you choose purity, the more the forces of light can operate in your life. Your decision to resist lust creates a powerful force field that deflects spiritual attacks, making it harder for negative energies to penetrate and influence your thoughts, actions, and decisions. Furthermore, rejecting lust opens the door for spiritual growth and divine purpose. Lust distracts and distorts your focus, leading you away from the path you're meant to walk. When you resist, you align yourself more closely with your higher calling, allowing divine energy to flow freely through you. You become more sensitive to the guidance of the Holy Spirit and more attuned to the whispers of divine wisdom that lead to your true purpose. In spiritual warfare, rejecting lust is like gaining a tactical advantage over your enemy. Each victory over temptation makes you stronger, spiritually resilient, and more prepared for the next battle. Your decision to resist doesn't just affect your immediate environment, it alters the spiritual dynamics around you, shifting the course of your destiny toward greater power, peace, and purpose. Every time you reject lust, you reinforce your spiritual authority, aligning yourself with the forces of light and making a lasting impact on the unseen realm. 8. The ultimate victory. The awakening of the soul. The ultimate victory over lust is not just about resisting temptation. It is about the complete transformation of the soul. It's the awakening of a deeper power, the spiritual renewal that shifts your entire existence. When you reject lust, you step into a realm of spiritual authority and strength. This victory isn't just a momentary triumph. It's the beginning of a lifelong journey of growth and self-mastery. It's about aligning your soul with a higher purpose and allowing the divine to lead you to a place of true freedom and fulfillment. The first aspect of this victory is the restoration of clarity and self-control. Lust clouds the mind and weakens the will, but when you reject it, you clear the fog, restoring a sharpness of thought and a control over your actions. This clarity allows you to make decisions aligned with your true purpose, free from the distractions and distortions that lust brings. You regain ownership over your body, mind, and spirit, no longer ruled by fleeting desires, but empowered by a higher sense of self-discipline. Secondly, rejecting lust leads to a deeper connection with your spiritual essence. The more you resist, the more you tap into the divine energy within. Lust is a force that separates you from your true self, but in rejecting it, you realign with your higher nature. You begin to understand your purpose more clearly, recognizing that your body is a temple meant for higher things. This spiritual awakening elevates your entire being, shifting your focus from the temporary and superficial to the eternal and meaningful. The third element of victory is the restoration of healthy relationships. Lust distorts our connections with others, turning them into objects for gratification rather than genuine, meaningful bonds. By rejecting lust, you open the door to real intimacy, founded on trust, respect, and mutual growth. You can now experience relationships that are built on love and true connection, rather than fleeting desires. This leads to deeper emotional fulfillment, stronger bonds, and healthier interactions with those around you. Finally, the ultimate victory is a shift in your entire spiritual trajectory. Lust, when rejected, doesn't just remove a negative force, it paves the way for divine purpose to take root in your life. You start to walk in your full spiritual authority, with a clear sense of mission and destiny. The victory over lust is not just an internal one, it's a victory over darkness in the world around you. It transforms not only your life, but the lives of those you impact. In the end, the awakening of the soul is the greatest victory. It is freedom from the chains of lust and the discovery of a higher calling that leads to peace, power, and purpose. Every temptation faced, every time you reject it, is a victory not just over desire, but over the forces that seek to hold you captive. The truth is, lust is a silent thief. It creeps in, distorts your thinking, and erodes your spirit until you are left spiritually bankrupt. But when you choose to fight, to reject the cravings that demand your attention, you are stepping into a power that will change your life. The freedom that comes with rejecting lust isn't just freedom from an addiction, it's the freedom to live out your true purpose, to align with the divine, and to build relationships that are rooted in authenticity, not manipulation. When you conquer lust, you unlock a life of clarity, strength, and spiritual awakening that will impact every area of your existence. The truth is, this victory is available to you right now. You don't have to wait for a perfect moment to break free from lust's grip. You can make that decision today, and by doing so, you will step into the authority and peace that comes from living in alignment with your highest self. But the journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning. If you're ready to take the next step and dive deeper into the biblical truths that will empower you to destroy lust once and for all, I've created a powerful guide for you. My ebook, 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust Before It Destroys You, will equip you with practical, spiritually grounded strategies that can help you build a life free from the chains of lust. These timeless biblical secrets will give you the tools to reclaim your life and your spiritual power. Don't let lust control your destiny. Take action now and click the link in the video description to grab your copy of the ebook. Start your journey to freedom today. The path to a transformed life is just one click away.